quest to find people who are inspiring to our community members, I have come across a man who is really into empowering and enlightening the people of color in the city of Renton and in the King County as a whole. So with me today is Mr. Greg Taylor. He's a city council member for the city of Renton. Mr. Greg, thank you for being here with me.
Thank you, Nanie.
Thanks.
Happy to be here.
That's great. And so we are going to be learning the ways how we can get involved with the community, how we can improve our lives. Because he has gotten experience being an elected member, because your position, you're actually going to be in your second term. This is your second term.
That is correct.
Great. And so we are going to get more information, more than you can see out in the city. He has experiences. And so before we go into that, can we have Greg Taylor please tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure, happy to. First, I'd like to say that the path that I took to get to becoming an elected official is not your typical one. I can say that grew up in the city of Chicago, left at the age of 15, moved to the Bay Area with my father and lived there. Never had any interest in politics. My main participation in politics was taking jabs at elected officials on family occasions, holidays and things like that. I was a skeptic, a cynic, and a critic. But one thing that I always did have was a passion to help people. I've always been a supporter for people who are at a disadvantage, the underdog, if you will. And that led me to do a number of different things throughout my community, helping my next door neighbors, finding seniors in my neighborhood that needed their snow shoveled or needed someone to look after them during bad weather situations. And ultimately it led to me being a servant in my church. And then it just led to me getting involved in my community. I started a business. I joined the Chamber of Commerce. I quickly became very active in joining different committees. One thing led to another. I became a chairman of the chamber, and it just continued. I think that people look at me as what's called a servant leader. You know, my passion is helping other people, and I get a lot of joy and rewards from watching myself help to improve the lives of other people. So doing all of this, someone approached me at one point in time and asked me if you had ever thought about being an elected official, which I hadn't. But one thing I did had to understand was that most of the things that I had been doing up to that point were clear indications that I liked being at the table where important decisions were being made. I had been involved in the planning commission for the city of Renton. I had been asked to serve on national hiring panels that brought people to our city, like our first black fire chief for the city of Renton, our police chief for the city of Renton, the superintendent for the Renton School District, and the CEO for the Chamber of Commerce. So it was clear that I wanted to be in a position where I could influence decisions that were important, that would impact other people. So that being said, I decided that being an elected official would give me a bigger stage, a broader sphere of influence. One thing led to another. And I put my hat in the race, ran a pretty competitive campaign, and was very surprised and yet thrilled when I won by the popular vote.
That's wonderful. You mentioned something that is very important here is you decided to first get involved with the community, see what's going on. And that passion alone led you make the decision to go ahead and actually take the opportunity to be an elected official, because sometimes you have something that's a passion but you don't have the platform for it, and so you need to do the work, you need to get involved, and that will give you more opportunity and to take advantage of what comes to you, because you need to put some effort forward. And so in your journey being an elected official, I'm pretty sure you've come about a lot of information that we as individuals in the community do not know about. So what are some issues that are going on within the, I wouldn't say just African Americans, within people of color in the city of Renton or in the King County as a whole?
Nanie, that is a great question. I can tell you that going back to the time when I doorbelled, and I did earn the unique distinction within my city of doorbelling everybody in the city, practically every person who was a registered voter, almost. There was, at the time, it was over 10,000 people that I doorbelled. But there was a common thing that I learned, and that was the lack of awareness that existed in the community. As I became a council member, the quantity of information that a council member gets is likened to drinking water from a fire hydrant. We're constantly briefed, we're constantly, engaged in discussions and meetings, and it's just a broader, higher level of information that one gets when you're in that position. And it became very clear to me that there is upon learning things such as the demographics of the county, the city, the surrounding cities, one of the things that has become real clear is the gap in terms of how communities of color are integrated within the cities that they live in, as it relates to employment. How minority business enterprises contract with the city government, and how services are delivered to the communities of color as a whole. Fire service, police service, the services that cities provide in general. And most of that, from my viewpoint, is because of it's a twofold thing. It's our city, for example, we've got 51% people of color in the city of Renton. The 2010 census revealed that to us. However, we are, if you look at how we hire, the number of positions that are held by people of color are well below that number. Now, it's not by construct, from my opinion. I think that it's more of a creation of how people engage with each other. Here's an example of that. If you look at most cities, and this same thing is consistent through all of the other cities. I ran demographics on Kent, Tukwila, SeaTac, Renton, Seattle. Now, of all of those cities, Seattle is the most successful city in how it integrates its communities of color. But Seattle has the Race and Social Justice Initiative, which is an intentional initiative that really works at trying to break down barriers and figure out how to engage communities of color. And I think there's a lot of opportunity for cities in the South End to learn from that. I think that raising the level of awareness with elected officials, with community stakeholders, with the community at large, helps to create the conversation that could ultimately create those kinds of efforts. Yeah,
because I think the whole party needs to realize that something needs to be done. The people themselves need to realize that. How do we get involved? How do we make something happen? And then the people also in all this position have to realize that to actually make a progress, you're working for the people. It's a community. And so you need to get them involved. Because I was in Tacoma a few months ago, and I entered a store and I saw a few gentlemen giving conversations, and they were not just people of color. They had the Caucasian, had different from different backgrounds, and they were talking about how if you go to some of the government or official offices, you look on the plaque, and the people in these authoritative positions are people, Caucasians, I should just say. If you go into, for example, the police department in Tacoma, you have like 1 or 2 blacks and 1 Latin American person. So how can, in an environment, a community where you have a whole bunch of diversity, how is it that the diversity is not seen in authoritative positions? It's like it doesn't look even. How can we create equity in our community?
Great question. And here's the good news. The good news is that there are some examples of how that is being approached successfully. King County has what's called the Equity and Social Justice Initiative. It was an initiative that was begun by County Executive Ron Sims before he left and went to Washington, and Executive Constantine has, continued, the effort to mobilize the constructs of the initiative. In fact, it was in the fall of 2010 made into an ordinance. It went from initiative to an ordinance status, which gives it more teeth. But the county initiative essentially focuses on the employees of King County, and it addresses how does King County hire, how does King County contract with minority business enterprises, and how does it deliver services. And it's got some components in it that really does approach the removal of the barriers that produce inequity. And when we use that word equity, I have to be real clear that what equity simply means is that everybody gets what they need. Sometimes people hear the word equity and they think affirmative action, or they think other things, but the word equity simply means that everyone gets what they need, and everyone has different needs. As we discussed earlier, for one individual, becoming a neurosurgeon might be the trajectory that they want to find the opportunity to get on. But for someone else, it could be, becoming an attorney, or, becoming a scientist, or maybe learning a trade and going to work for, a Boeing and getting into the aerospace industry.
Different paths.
But we need to be sensitive to the idea that the menu, or the entree, if you will, that provides opportunity is sensitive to the needs of the communities and the individuals. So there's some work that has to be done there. The King County Equity and Social Justice Initiative has some really neat tools. If you get an opportunity to go to their website, one of the tools that they have on their website is the Equity Impact Tool. Great tool. Now, as elected officials, we, and I like to refer to constituents, yes, but I like residents better, because residents, everyone who lives in a city is a resident. Doesn't mean you're a voter, doesn't mean you're a citizen. You're a resident, you live in a city, you pay taxes, they go into the city coffers, and we spend stuff with your money. And we do things like we provide salaries for law enforcement people, firefighters, police officers, city workers, and we do stuff. We build things, we create infrastructure, we maintain roads, we provide utility services. When we spend money, it should be an opportunity for us, and I mentioned this to you earlier, that we're all doing life together. On the outside, we're doing life. We live in this space together, this place. And for us to be able to live together, be sensitive about the needs of everybody, to allow everyone to come to the table, to be involved in how we construct and build our future and build those trajectories is important. And the King County Equity and Social Justice Equity Impact Tool does that. It requires that, or it says that if a department within King County is going to make some kind of investment or create some kind of a policy, that they have to make sure that it doesn't impact communities of color in an adverse way. And if it does, it needs to be mitigated. Now that's the one example of that was the Southport Bridge that was underfunded, was going to be torn down. A Hispanic community, a community that really needed the access for that connection, and there wasn't money to, it wasn't enough money funded to allow it to be reconstructed. But because of this Equity and Social Justice Initiative, they were able to find the money to make that improvement that impacted that community. And those are the kinds of things that we need to see done. There also is a community engagement tool that provides for the intentional outreach to try and do just the thing that we're talking about. Facilitating dialogue, conversations that can raise the level of awareness in communities of color and communities at large on how we can build better communities that eliminate some of the social determinants that create disparity in communities of color.
Yeah, because I think everyone needs to be recognized. Everyone needs to know that they're important, because we are all living here together. And so why not get the people involved? And I do know, I'm hoping that the people in these offices of power recognize that they need the people, because not everyone needs to be a PhD holder to be informed of, to improve our lives. We need to get A, B, and C and come together. It's like, how can we make this work? And that way you get the chance to know what the people need. Because let's say in Kent, for example, you have a whole bunch of people who are either immigrants from Africa, from different continents. So what's the plan going on to integrate these people, to get them to the point where they say, okay, this is our community now, because they live here. They are not going anywhere. So how can they get involved in their community? And are the people also in these positions wanting to, at some point, give opportunities for leaders to come from this community?
Great question. I can tell you that, and that is one of the things that I'm very passionate about. And I can tell you that in our city, we have a business plan. It is our strategic plan. And one of the mission statements that we have, one of the bullets in our mission statement, is that we do want to capitalize and promote our communities of color. And what that simply means is one of the action steps that would go along with that is creating roadmaps. Creating a intentional way to reach out to the community, to help the communities understand how to navigate through, the city.
Yeah.
Most people don't know. Most people don't, they take it for granted. They don't understand that when an immigrant, or excuse me, a refugee is resettled here, that chances are they've been in a refugee camp, and the average stay, I've been told, in a refugee camp could be as long as 12 years. And these places are horrible. Many things happen in those camps that are just unspeakable. And usually when people are coming to be resettled here, they're coming from places where they've been persecuted. So there's little trust for law enforcement, little trust for elected officials, little trust for sometimes spiritual leaders. And then when they arrive here, just the mere fact that there's a language and culture gap, there's that otherness that they experience also. So there's a detachment from the community.
Yeah.
So those are all barriers that people like myself, people in government have to become aware of, so that we can make some intentional steps towards trying to build relationships. And
Definitely.
it takes time. It's not easy. I can tell you that one of the things that I've learned in my quest and my outreach out here is that we communicate on specific channels. We like our internet, we like our email, we like our flyers in the community centers and those types of things. But many communities of color don't communicate along those channels. In fact, the number one method that I've learned that works with communities of color is face to face. People, they want to see you, and it's not a come to City Hall. It's we're coming into their communities, coming where they are, and not just once every 6 months or once every 2 months, but it's got to be a regular, sincere. There's got to be a sincere curiosity to want to learn. It's got to be genuine, and that done over time can help to make an individual believe that they're wanted, to be included in a process. I can tell you that I've met a lot of people that they don't really believe that. They don't really feel that way.
They just want to go through and do what they have to do and just move on to pay. And it's like you just can't move on through the city like that. It's just living through the city, not letting it live. They don't want to participate because they don't trust you. They don't think you care. And so why am I wasting my time going there when at the end of the day you're just gonna do what you're gonna do? Do you really care about me being here and stuff? But ladies and gentlemen, we, as he had mentioned earlier, we are the ones who live here. This is our city. We are raising our children here. So we're gonna get to the point where we decide to participate. If not for us, for our children. And also another benefit, or incentive rather, you are paying bills here. You are paying money here that go back to the city. Monies that so you are contributing, so you have your rights. And so we are gonna learn later on how to go deeply and get involved into our cities, ways to go about it. And Greg here is going to give us more advice, and we will learn more later.